Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Well, if nothing else, the last 24 hours have given us a perfect illustration of the very different rhetorical universes that our two major political parties are living in. So on one side, there is, of course, the Democratic president, Joe Biden, who just delivered his second official State of the Union address last night. Now, of course, being president, Joe Biden holds a unique position. He gets to speak from the bully pulpit to over 27 million Americans last night. That's according to early estimates. And it was a long speech, clocking in at nearly 1 hour and 13 minutes. What was most striking to me about it was that the president focused the bulk of that time, just about 2/3, on what you could call his version of the America First agenda. Even used that phrase at one point. He's taken some of the most politically popular aspects of MAGAism and built them into an actual progressive policy agenda. Includes a worker-centered trade policy, bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. through government intervention and industrial policy, rebuilding a blue-collar middle class with good-paying jobs that, as he noted last night, do not require a college degree. These are all things that Donald Trump kind of gestured towards or ranted and raved about, but never actually did anything to promote. And now, 2 years into his presidency, Joe Biden has signed laws, put these policies into action, bringing about real results that he can get up in front of the nation and tout.
I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs, more jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years. The unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. A near record unemployment. For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs.
Part of that approach last night was the president also promoting a sort of anti-corporate populism. Time and again, taking an opportunity to show that he's on the side of regular folks getting screwed by everything from credit card companies to hotels to airlines.
I know how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore. We've written a bill to stop it all. It's called the Junk Fee Prevention Act. We're going to ban surprise resort fees that hotels charge on your bill. Those fees can cost you up to $90 a night at hotels that aren't even resorts. And we'll prohibit airlines from charging $50 round trip for a family just to be able to sit together. Baggage fees are bad enough. Airlines can't treat your child like a piece of baggage.
Now, clearly, all this was directed at the kinds of voters who Joe Biden and Democrats need to win at the margin in order to win statewide races, Senate races, national elections to govern the country. So that was the Biden Democratic approach, a progressive agenda on the substance delivered in this kind of populist, folksy, common sense, broadly appealing manner, trying to get those folks that they think are gettable to persuade them towards their vision and not the vision of the Republican Party and Donald Trump. Then you got the Republican Party, and their enduring image from last night is Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene booing and hollering and heckling from the back row in her Cruella de Vil cosplay. The party's official response, delivered by former Trump press secretary, now governor of Arkansas, daughter of former governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, sounded like a MAGA Fox News fever dream.
The Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. And he's the first man to surrender his presidency to a woke mob that can't even tell you what a woman is. His administration has been completely hijacked by the radical left. I signed executive orders to ban CRT, racism, and indoctrination in our schools. Eliminate the use of derogatory term Latinx in our government. We are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, I mean like real, in a literal sense. What flags? This is not an aberration. This is actually the way the Republican Party is running the part of the government they now control. It's not just speechifying. Just look at what they were up to today. It was a typical day in the MAGA caucus. Rather than working on something, I don't know, material, tangible, like, for instance, bringing down inflation, the cost of living. You could have a hearing on that. You really could. They held a hearing, and I quote here, Twitter's role in suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story. The front of mind for most Americans, I think it's safe to say. Republicans on the Oversight Committee devoted a lot of time to rambling questions about which posts Twitter censored and why'd you take my account down and why they took down images of the president's son's genitals, which apparently they all really, really, really think everyone should see. I wish I was making that up, but that was a real exchange, a real one, between Florida Congressman Byron Donalds and Twitter's former head of trust and safety.
Do you know how many tweets were actually flagged and taken down at the behest of the Biden team?
I wouldn't agree with the characterization of it as being at the behest of them. These tweets were reported, and Twitter independently evaluated them under its rules.
But the email is very clear. More to review from Biden team. The response 3 hours later at the bottom, hold this up real quick so we can see. The request at the bottom, it says, handled these. What does handled these mean?
My understanding is that these tweets contained non-consensual nude photos of Hunter Biden, and they were removed by the company under...
Hold on, real quick, Mr. Roth. How could you know so much about the content of these tweets? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, these are just web addresses. I don't know what's in these tweets. You have these things committed to memory that you know the content, but you don't know who you talk to at the Biden team?
Sir, I didn't meet with the Biden team, but there was extensive public reporting about these tweets specifically that uncovered what they were.
Take a step back. This is a congressional hearing. Byron Donalds is an elected member of Congress majority. Why did you take down the pictures of the president's son's genitals? Why, sir? Who did you talk about? Why are they not up there? Why can't I look at them right now, sir? What on earth? Of course, the hearing also featured a long rant by Marjorie Taylor Greene complaining about, of course, her suspension from Twitter for repeatedly spreading lies about COVID.
You can consider your speech canceled during my time because you canceled mine. You see, you permanently banned my personal Twitter account, and it was my campaign account also, while you coordinated with DHS, the FBI, the CIA, our government, and outside groups to permanently shadow ban conservative Americans and candidates like me and the former president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. You were censoring and wrongfully violating our First Amendment free speech rights.
Well, Mr. Woke Twitter. Looks like the canceller has become the cancelee. The tables have turned, and now you're sitting on the legs. Again, all this posturing is designed to feed the MAGA beast. It's to create content for the Fox News extended universe. The relatively small, I mean, it's a big chunk of people, but relatively small percentage of the populace ate it up. But again, I'm not the audience for this. I'll be the first to say it, right? So I get that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this stuff's effective. Maybe what your median voter wants to hear is like, why did you take down that Marjorie Taylor tweet? And why can't I look at Hunter Biden's nudies? Why not? Maybe that's what people are really into. Maybe that's what they really care about. But we have already tested this general Republican message on a broader scale in the midterm elections. They tried to persuade swing voters with this kind of thing, and it mostly bombed. Most Republicans seem intent on not learning that lesson. And I have to imagine the White House is happy for them not to.